Welcome everyone to our on-demand session. My name is Bree Rohde. I'm an ag editor with Adex Business Media, and I'm here with Jesse MacDonald. He's a biologist with Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, and we're going to be discussing the invasive pest spotted wing Drosophila. So let's start out with contextualizing what is spotted wing Drosophila and what fruits and vegetables does it primarily affect?
So spotted wing Drosophila is a little fruit fly that it has the males have a spot on their wings. That's where it gets its name from. It infects cherries, nectarines, peaches, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, basically any soft fruit or any soft berry. Lays its larva inside the fruit. The larva kind of bores around in there until it's ready to emerge as another fly. Then it goes from there.
Awesome, thank you. So now regionally, where does it affect the most? And I'm wondering, has it moved into different regions or areas in recent years?
Well, so it's originally from Southeast Asia, and it was first detected in Hawaii in the 1980s. And then in 2008, 2009 was the first detection in North America, and that was in California. Within 2 years, it had spread across most of North America, and by 2012, it was virtually everywhere. So you're going to find it anywhere that there is soft fruit or berries growing, and that doesn't have to be cultivated. That can be just native soft fruit and berries growing around. It's basically everywhere in North America now.
Wow. And what's the life cycle and seasonality like for Drosophila? Is it roughly the same every year, or could it be different depending on environmental or climate factors?
Yeah, it's very environmentally dependent. Definitely varies from season to season. So if you get longer, warmer summers, you're going to get a lot more generations. I believe that in California, they've been getting up to 13 generations in a growing season. In places like the Okanagan Valley, where I live in British Columbia, sometimes you don't have, sometimes you have less than four generations. But the good news is that sometimes when the temperature is over 30 degrees, the males are known to become sterile. Now that's good in one sense, but in another sense, often the plants are stressed at that temperature as well. So it very much is environmentally dependent. You'll have good years and you'll have bad years, and growers have to react depending on what the year is like.
Wow. Yeah. And what are some of the impacts, both in terms of quality of the yield and also the overall economics of spotted wing Drosophila?
Well, I'll give you an example from the cherry industry in Canada. Its presence basically collapsed the entire organic cherry industry. So there's one pest control product that they can use. They basically have to use that over and over again. It's a 3-day reapplication interval, whereas the conventional growers have a few more options with bigger reapplication intervals, and it gives them a little bit more leeway. But it basically collapsed the organic cherry industry. Um, there used to be a very beautiful integrated pest management program for a different fruit fly in the area. It was organic, it was very simple. It was a little stream. You drive through your cherry rows with a quad, and very unintrusive. And then when the spotted wing Drosophila came in, it basically destroyed that entire IPM program. And basically growers are on calendar spray programs now, and that goes for organic and conventional growers and blueberries and cherries and any soft fruit and berries. Um, the growers for export markets, they have to do quality checks, which means they do these floats for larvae to count how many larvae are in them. And if you go over a threshold, then you can't ship to certain countries. But basically, the biggest impact is the calendar spray programs that are very costly. And as we move towards more pest specific and softer chemistries, and we lose some of the harder ones that actually work very well, but we're trying to move towards a better environmental impact, it becomes harder and harder to manage these pests, this one included.
Yeah, wow. So I was going to ask about strategies for prevention or mitigation and treatment, but is prevention actually a possible or feasible thing?
Um, well, yes and no. Um, they have traps in their orchards, and so they're monitoring the populations constantly. And so one of the key parts of integrated pest management is hitting a first generation, controlling a first generation before it takes off. And because that'll kind of skyrocket into more and more flies as the season progresses and more generations come and go. And so if you can really time your applications to hit that first generation, then you can really reduce the amount of inputs that you have to use later in the season. So that is in a way prevention, even though you still have to apply chemistry in this point. But there are researchers looking at many other methods of control. So we have researchers in Egg Canada and Agassiz and Summerland that are looking at biological control. So there's parasitoid wasps that have been found in North America, originally from this fly's native range. They somehow made it over to North America. Now we're monitoring those populations and seeing if maybe they're just going to bring the entire population down to a more manageable level. And there's other researchers in academia and in private industry that are looking at other methods like push-pull methods or mass trapping methods and border applications or like perimeter applications of your orchards and vineyards and berry fields, or so that you don't have to spray throughout the entire thing. So there's a lot of options that are still being investigated, and it's been about 10 years of research into controlling this pest now. It'll take longer, but we are getting somewhere with it. So.
Wow, yeah, I was going to ask, with this 10 years of research that you guys have been putting in, how has your understanding of spotted wing Drosophila changed and evolved? And do you kind of feel like you're getting a bit of a leg up on it?
We're making progress for sure. You're going to see differences from California to BC and how it actually behaves. So you can understand how its population cycles and behaves in California, but you're not necessarily going to understand how it works in British Columbia. So that means that every region kind of has to look at it independently, and those little nuances between the regions are really where your management strategies really take effect, because everything's becoming so precise these days. Precision agriculture really means precision. So it's going to be different from one region to another. So, and that's where kind of the leg is, I think, is that it's not like one brush paints all for across North America. Yeah, I think we're getting somewhere with it, but it's going to take time.
Right. Now, as a grower or producer, what are some of the early signs that you might have spotted wing Drosophila in your area, or worse, on your fruits?
If you're a commercial producer, you probably already know if you have it or not. But trapping, there are traps that you can buy specific to spotted wing Drosophila. A lot of them are vinegar traps, so you can go into a grocery store to refill them. You don't need to buy special pheromone packages or anything to attract them. You just have to be able to identify them, and that's the key point, and differentiate them from other flies. So what you really want to look for is those males with the black spots on their wings, and you can Google that a lot and find lots of resources for that. But the trapping is really the monitoring program. That's where you're going to find out if you have fruit. Otherwise, you're risking your actual mature fruit being destroyed, being wrecked, the quality going down.
So, if you are taking part in the trapping program, and if you discover, oh no, I have this here, what are the next steps as a grower? Who do you contact, or what can you do to help mitigate or compensate?
Uh, your first place you should probably start is talking to your local extension specialist or provincial extension specialist. They're very knowledgeable people. They all know about spotted wing Drosophila across Canada. So it's well known, and you just talk to your specialist. He'll tell you what's available to use on your crops, or local management strategies that seem to be working. Right now, one really interesting thing that some of our researchers are looking at is the migration of spotted wing from native host plants into fields throughout the season. So they'll jump from one to another one. And so there may be something to that about managing the native berry plants that are on your farms and around your property. I'm not saying pull them out, so you want to keep diversity, but there may be something to managing those. And if you have a bunch of fruit rotting on the ground, clean those up and that sort of stuff.
So, before we end this, is there anything that you think producers and growers should know, or just anything you want to add as everyone's preparing for the upcoming growing season?
Yeah, just if you see this fly, or you think you see the fly, or you have any questions, reach out to your local researchers in Agriculture Canada and your provinces. There's a lot of researchers in your universities as well. your extension specialists will know who to contact. So don't be afraid to ask questions. We're always very happy to talk to people about everything that we're working on.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jesse.